let's tell a story of adventure, younglings. Now gather by the fire and let me tell you a story from the tome of adventure. Now the title of this adventure is The Frost-Bound Accord. Very ominous, very cold. Alright. The silver moon hung low over the town of Greystone. Its silver light spilled over the moss-covered roofs and flickering off the sign of the Harpy's flagon, a crooked little tavern at the edge of the world. The rickety building cast warm shadows across the cobblestone and dirt street. Inside, by the hearth's last embers, four figures hunched over an old wine-stained map. Callum, the wiry rogue, traced a finger over the parchment, eyes gleaming with mischief. Beside him, Elandra, a mage with frost-kissed eyes and a tome of spells chained to her hip, whispered arcane words under her breath. Bram, the warrior, heavy in plate and heavier in ale, thumped his mug down and said, "If the cave is real, let's stop talking and start marching." And finally, watching from the shadows was Siren, the harper, a bard and emissary of the secret order that kept balance between the realms. She listened to whispers others missed, and it was she who had heard the tale first. "A cave of endless treasure," she said softly, "guarded by spires of ice, wind-blown caverns, and a dragon as old as the mountains below the snow. Rumor is 3 eggs lie atop a pedestal of ancient make. Not gold is the true prize, but what sleeps within, for which dragon eggs were a magical source that could be used to enchant magic items as well as create powerful spells." They agreed that night, bound by fate, gold, and curiosity, they would follow the tale. Chapter 1. Runes of the Road. The next morning, under the rising sun, Siren activated their traveling runes. Small, inscribed, aged finger bones, blessed by ancient arcana. The most common use of is the Path Reveal, but under extreme need, teleportation. As with many things, the knowledge has faded with time, and the creation of the runes is now a mystery. As the bones glow with the blue light, the runes revealed a shimmering path only the caster could see. Across tundras, craggy highlands, and forgotten battlefields they followed. They battled wind wraiths in the hollow of whispers, avoided bog sirens in the dread root marsh, and found shelter in the ruined temple of a forgotten Pathian. It was Elandra who deciphered the ancient script scrawled in the frozen stone, confirming the path to the Frost Spear caverns, where their destiny lay. Chapter 2. The Cave of Teeth and Ice. The entrance was carved into the side of a jagged mountain, hidden beneath a curtain of enchanted snowfall. The runes pulsed as they approached, parting the fresh powdered snow to reveal the jagged mouth of the cave. Inside, darkness and cold pressed on them like a weight. Crystals jutted from the walls like spears. The icy air pitched and pulsed as they climbed lower into the throat of the icy void, like a breathing beast. Not before long, they were already chilled to the bones, and the pulsing air sapped their energy. Only when they called for a rest in a cavern cave then the first foes came. Ice spiders, massive, glassy creatures with fangs that dripped freezing venom, descended from the ceilings. Bram's sword sang steel as Callum danced through their legs, daggers flashing. Elandra cast flame and frost in tandem, while Siren's song echoed through the tunnels, bolstering courage and stealing fear. Deeper they went, they came upon a shrine guarded by gem-encrusted golems, their fists like boulders. The battle was desperate. Bram shattered one with a war cry and a leaping blow. Elandra lured another into an ice pit conjured from ice. Callum took a brutal hit to the ribs, nearly dying. But Siren's music wrapped around him and mended bone and soul. The sound of ice cracking stilled everything. The tunnel began to shift. Ice began to fall. The adventurers leaped headlong into the soft blue glow of the cavern ahead. The tunnel collapsed in an avalanche behind them, sealing the pulsing wind and deafening silence. But this was not just a cavern. It was the Grand Cavern. Chapter 3: The Dragon's Sanctum. Finally, the Grand Cavern. With silent motion, they moved into the cavern, the feeling of watchers on them, it lit by a haunting hell light that emitted from the icy spears towering like frozen trees. Beneath them were mounds of treasure, gold, rubies, sapphires, mithril blades, and relics of fallen empires. But at the center, on a raised pedestal, lay three shimmering eggs, silver and blue, radiant with life and magic. They moved as one towards the center of their chamber. There was no sign of an ice dragon. Siren whispered, "The runes won't work here." As they moved between mounds of treasure, they slipped trinkets into bags and pockets alike. At the bottom of the center, everyone paused and nodded. Callum, the most nimble of the group members, climbed the rise with soft feet. The moment Callum ascended the pedestal, reached for one of the silver eggs, the temperature dropped. The dim light skipped, and the pulsing air returned. From above, a roar shattered the silence. A Rulgar, the ancient ice dragon, shifted from its clasp on the ceiling. The light cast through the surrounding ice hid her presence. She descended like an avalanche in truth. Scales like moonlit glaciers, eyes like frozen stars, wings that whipped snow into wisps. Her voice boomed like ice shattering. "How dare you touch what is not yours?" Ice burst off stone in chunks. The ground heaved with frost as the battle began. Chapter 4: The Frostbound Battle. It was chaos. Bram charged, blade blazing with heat from a fire rune. Arulgar bellowed and met him head on, claws and fang against steel and grit. The clash shook the cavern. Alandra unleashed torrents of lightning and fire, trying to pierce the dragon's icy hide. The mage's eyes glowed with power, her body racked with the force of her own spells. Siren danced through the chaos, sound echoing, songs singing, illusions flaring in the dragon's vision, and magic twisting the fate in their favor. Callum scaled the icy spires like a shadow, leaping from pillar to pillar, throwing daggers and trying to find a weakness in the dragon's armor. Arulgar's breath froze the air, turning Bram's shield into brittle shards. Callum was flung into a wall unconscious. Alandra suffered a gash along her side that turned instantly to crystals. Bram fell to one knee, frostbite creeping up his arm. But Ulgar was wounded too, scales torn, one wing dragging, blood like liquid diamonds dripping from its flank. Both sides, gasping, frozen, and broken, paused. The will to fight faded, buried beneath pain and exhaustion. Siren stepped forward, looking at her defeated group, her voice soft. "We did not come for blood. We sought treasure, yes, but none of us knew what we'd really find." Arulgar looked to the pedestal and saw it at last. One egg shattered. A silence fell, heavier than any snow. The ancient beast let out a mournful cry that echoed through the ice and stone mountain alike. Chapter 5, A Dragon's Grace. I will not suffer you take the others, Olgar said, voice howling. We seek the eggs no longer, Elandra whispered, cradling her wound. The dragon turned to them, eyes blue, piercing their souls, and instead of rage there was weariness. Weariness reflected in both parties. You fought hard. As thieves, yes, but still nonetheless. The grief is a pain I cannot give to the cold. I grant you a gift, so I never see your kind again. Arulgar reared back, breath glowing with cold magic, and exhaled a gale of frost over the bone runes in Siren's bloodied hand. They shimmered and turned into the purest ice and pearl-white snow, but did not melt. These runes, she rumbled, now hold the power of instant passage. Any door, any dungeon, any frozen tomb you may leave, and you will never fear the cold again, but you will never return here. Siren bowed deeply, bloodied and tears in her eyes. We swear it. Epilogue. The Price of Adventure. The adventurer pressed the casting runes into her bloodied hand. A flash of icy light enveloped them, and in an instant they stood outside, atop the frozen cliffs of the mountain, battered and bruised but alive. As the wind howled around them, they took the last look at the mountain behind them, where a dragon's mournful cry still echoed faintly through the stone and the snowpack. They had gold and mithril, and a tale to last 100 winters, but each of them knew the truth. They had found treasure, they had caused a loss, and they had left a piece of themselves behind. Thus ends the tale of the Frostbound Accord, where blades clashed, magic sang, and the hearts were forever marked by ice, snow, and bones. I hope you have enjoyed this story by the fire with me, but as most stories do, sometimes they just put me to sleep. Be sure to like and subscribe. Back to the art at hand.
Thank you for thanks for geeking out with me on that little story. I really did enjoy creating that, not only just writing the story, but also using YouTube to create all those AI images that I incorporated into that little clip there. It's very fun, and I really enjoyed using just some of my storytelling there in my content. Even if it's just something simplistic as just a little story in the middle of the content, it was just really fun, and it was also a way for me to tell my own little story of what I would do if it was my D&D campaign.